Reddit, I need your judgment. I'm posting on a throwaway because our tech hub is really a small town that rides scooters. For 8 years, I thought our marriage was built on late buses, early stand-ups, and the soft kind of love that survives a one-bedroom and a dying dishwasher. Then a 1:12 a.m. rideshare receipt and a harmless Discord ping cracked everything open. What followed smelled like lavender hand cream and server room ozone and felt like being revisioned out of my own life. I'm Liam, 34M, a product designer in San Jose, which means I doodle boxes that hold other boxes and argue about padding. My wife, Zoe, 32F, is a UX researcher for a mid-size AI company. She bikes at dawn, wears the same lavender hand cream I bought her when we were broke, and knows the baristas by the sound of their tamp. We rent a 650-square-foot apartment with a view of somebody else's fire escape and a plant named Shuttle because it leans toward the window like it wants to launch. This started on a Thursday that refused to end. I was finishing hi-fi mocks while the dishwasher made a grinding noise that sounded like it wanted an exorcism. Zoe texted, "Late session, don't wait up," which is normal during pre-launch. She was out with a founders panel that always seems to become after with research folks. I threw on headphones and designed a settings screen no one would ever open. At 1:12 a.m., my phone buzzed against a ceramic coaster. Capital One alert. Lumen, Hotel 6284. Lumen is the neon cube downtown with the living wall lobby and the elevator that smells inexplicably like cold light. We went there once for a company holiday party when the budget still had a pulse. I stared and told myself it was a team tab. People hold meetings there because the snack bar has oat milk cartons lined up like soldiers. 30 seconds later, a Gmail notification slid across my laptop. Your ride with Beacon is complete drop-off. Lumen Hotel. It was our joint account. We keep them together because joint pain teaches you to share Advil. The timestamp, 12:57 a.m. The driver's comment, passenger quiet, asked for back route through market. It added a map that looked like somebody traced the city's nervous system. I told myself, honestly, I did, that there was an after at Lumen. My brain is excellent at pitch decks. It pitched itself a deck titled, Why This Is Fine. Slide 1. Sometimes work is at hotels. Slide 2. Zoe is a woman who brings reusable chopsticks to restaurants. She is incapable of cliché. Slide 3. Remember the lavender that lives in your pillowcase, trust that. The door opened at 1:41. She came in with that crisp cold on her coat you get from riding elevators too many floors. She smelled like lavender and the faint metallic ozone you get in server rooms. The Lumen event spaces keep racks on display for vibe. She kissed my head, murmured, "You up?" and slipped past me toward the bathroom. The ride receipt sat under my laptop like a splinter I pretended wasn't there. The next morning, the valley did its weird winter, a fridge shade of fog that licks the street lamps and then recedes like it forgot something. We did our choreography. Zoe biked to work in a neon jacket. I scooted because my team was competing to be the most parody. I stopped for coffee at a place that grinds beans so fresh the air tastes like warm walnuts. I told myself I'd ask. That's what grown-ups do, ask. By 10, I had talked myself out of it. We had a rule from year 1. Don't interrogate when the other person is in a sprint. Launch weeks turn humans into weird batteries. Zoe texted me a photo of the usability lab, sticky notes everywhere, and a caption, "We live here now." I hearted it. I did not say, did the lab move to Lumen at 1 a.m.? My coworker and best friend, Marco, 35M, rolled his chair to my desk and whacked the side with a prototype phone like it owed him money. We've been friends since we were interns stealing extra pizza. He's funny in a way that rescues meetings. He's married to his job and a bike. He claims he doesn't do social media. You good? He asked. He has a barometer for my face. I'm fine, I said, which is how I've said help since middle school. We shipped a trivial build and spent an hour arguing about whether buttons should be fat and friendly or skinny and mean. Every time I looked at my Figma file, the hotel receipt sat under it like a faint watermark. During lunch, I went for a walk around the block just to smell something alive. The landscaping company had just cut lemon verbena. I breathed until I could taste green. At 3:02, the lumen charge hit the credit card again. 12. It was the downstairs market. I told myself she had grabbed water to take to the team. I could even picture her sweetly paying with our card because someone else's corporate card felt complicated. I tried to admire her ethics while my stomach practiced knots. I opened our home app to set the heater ahead of her biking home because I am a petty prince. The smart lock activity feed sat beneath it like a gossipy ant. It showed the door opening at 12:06 and again at 1:42, which matched what I had lived. I closed the app like it had coughed on me. Denial ships with dark mode. It looks polite and modern and hurts your eyes anyway. I found the Discord by accident in the way that all accidents feel like betrayals after. Our iPad, the one we use for recipes and watching videos while we fold laundry, popped a banner. Zemerin accepted your invite to night research. The icon was a moon with a magnifying glass. I'd never heard of night research. I tapped without thinking and landed on a server full of channels named After Hours Bias, Field Notes, and Glowworm. The usernames were cutesy in a way that makes me want to join a commune and ban fonts. Zoe's handle was Zemerin. That's her maiden name. Only people who knew her before me use it. A DM flashed in the corner. MZ, same spot. Bring the car to use last time. The letter M sat there like a loaded variable. I closed the app so fast I nearly taught it to fly. Everything in me wanted to march down to her office and say, "Who is M? Why is he giving instructions like that?" Everything in me also wanted not to make a fool of myself if M was, "My boss is a tyrant who needs receipts." I took screenshots with shaking hands and airdropped them to my laptop. The lavender smell in our apartment made my throat tight. That night, Zoe came home smelling like rain and whiteboard markers and put her hands around my waist the way she does when she's trying to climb out of her own head. "Can we order Thai?" she asked against my shoulder. "Sure," I said. "Long day?" "Jared is." "Jared," she said, rolling her eyes at her boss's name. "Is he M?" I asked before I could stop myself. She pinched my side like she thought she was being cute. "You're mixing letters," she said. "Everything okay in your brain?" I told her yes. We ate pad CUW and watched a show where architects fix other architects' mistakes. I breathed lavender and server ozone and a quiet so loud it gave me a headache. On Friday, I told Marco about the rideshare receipt and the Lumen and the Discord. I didn't show him the DMs because even the idea of showing someone felt like walking my marriage down a hallway and handing it a number. But I used the word suspicious and watched his face. "Do you want comfort or facts?" he asked. "Great. Apparently that's the question adults ask now." "Facts," I said. "Okay," he said, already building a plan out of thin air. "First, stop collecting things you can't use. If you're wrong, you'll hate yourself. If you're right, you still might. Second, set up alerts, not traps. Third, if this is Jared, keep it at HR distance. You don't want to pour your career on that fire." He said it like a friend. He is a friend. He also has a talent for getting into secured spaces with no drama servers, beta programs, a rooftop at a party in 2018 where we watched the fog eat the skyline. He knows people who know people. He texted someone at Lumen who does tech for events. "If there's anything with her name on it, I can probably get you a redacted invoice," he said. I nodded like this was a normal errand and not a heart transplant. Over the weekend, he sent a screenshot of a line item. Room 433 bar transfer 62, 84 guest, Zoe Marine Auth, ZM. Under it, another line I didn't recognize. Key access issued to guest of record. Marco wrote, "Could be a conference room, sometimes hotels do that." Then, "Want me to ask my guy if there are cameras near the market? Might get stills." I said no, because that felt like climbing into a window I couldn't climb back out of. That same night, the M in the Discord DM'd, "If Jay asks, say it was for Allie. She needs the cover tonight." I stared until the letters hurt. Allie is Zoe's friend from grad school, now a PM at a company with a logo that looks like it wants to be hugged. I saved the screenshot and put my phone face down on a book, like I was trying to press the panic out of it. Zoe came home early, which means before midnight, with a plant cutting in her pocket like a trophy. "For shuttle," she said, and kissed my cheek. Lavender. A faint lift of lemon from Lumen's lobby. Server room ozone, like a ghost of electricity on her coat. I wanted to hate my nose. Monday morning, the credit card sent me a summary. 4 Lumen charges in 2 weeks, each around midnight. At 2:08 p.m., Marco slacked me. "We should talk IRL." We walked to the tiny park beside the office that acts like a smoke break for people who vape anxiety. He handed me a printout somehow, like this was a movie, and he was the guy you find in a dark corner of a coffee shop. "2 things," he said. 1. Lumen invoices showroom numbers. That's not normal for bar charges unless the bar is attached to a room. Zoe's name is the one on the guest line, not some Jared corporate thing. 2. There's a still from the lobby. My guy shouldn't have sent it. He did. "You sure you want it?" I surprised myself by taking the envelope. Inside, a grainy still. Zoe in a dark jacket. I recognized the little seam near the shoulder she complains about. Laughing with a man whose face was turned. He wore a beanie, a messenger bag with a reflective strip, and a watch with a particular wide band I'd seen at 1,000 stand-ups. The wool beanie had a tiny square tag. The bag had a scuff I'd seen before on the edge of a conference table. "Looks like 1,000,000 San Jose cyclists," Marco said, reading my mind. "Can't be sure. Could be Jared. He bikes. Could be a vendor. Could be anything." The still had a reflection in the elevator metal that looked like a face if you wanted it to. I did not want it to. I put the photo back in the envelope because there was a noise in my head I didn't like. That night, I tried to ask without accusing. "Do you know who Allie is covering for?" I said while we brushed teeth. Lavender and mint made a new smell. "What?" Zoe said around foam. "You told someone you'd say it was for Allie," I said. Her eyes sharpened. "You're reading my messages? That's not okay." She spit, rinsed, patted her mouth with a towel like she was the one being polite. "Allie is dating a married guy, and I'm trying to keep her from getting fired." "There. Happy with your surveillance?" "That's not a relief," I said. She made a disgusted sound. "You're a good man, Liam. You also catastrophize. It's one of your charms when you're designing. In a marriage, it feels like I'm being cross-examined." She touched my face, then my chest. "I love you. Please don't become the guy who turns love into logs." I stood there with toothpaste in my mouth and felt the server ozone in my bones. A week later, after 2 more Lumen charges near midnight, I asked Zoe to meet me at a cafe that smells like cardamom and productivity. I chose morning on purpose. I wanted light to do some of the talking. "I think you're seeing someone," I said, once we had sat with our mugs making halos on the table. "I have receipts, literally. I also have a photo I don't like. Before I ask any other questions, I need to ask this. Do you want to be married to me?" Her face rearranged like someone had moved a slider, tired to tender to offended. "I'm covering for Allie," she said. She begged. Her guy is a VP at a place that claims values but likes secrets. If anyone asks where I was, I'm with her. That's it. "Then why are the charges in your name?" I asked. "Why the Discord? Bring the card you used last time." "Because I have the card she trusts," she snapped. "Because she's messy. Because I'm a good friend." She took my hands. Her palms smelled like lavender, which suddenly felt like a weapon. "Liam, I know your brain. I love your brain. I do not love when your brain makes me its enemy. If you want to come to therapy with me so a third party can tell you you're spiraling, great. If you want to sit here and decide I'm a liar, say that plainly so I can stop trying." She started crying in that clean way Zoe cries, like she's emptying a glass and setting it back on the shelf. A barista glanced over. I felt like a man shaking a ladder someone else was still on. "I want the truth," I said quietly. "This is the truth," she said, and the way she held the word reminded me of people clutching tote bags in earthquakes. We did not resolve it. We went to our jobs and did our work and kept our smells. That night she made farro with mushrooms and stood behind me while I stirred and put her chin between my shoulder blades. "I love you," she said into my shirt. Please, please, please do not blow us up over a story you wrote on the back of a credit card. For a day, I believed her the way you believe a doctor when the tests aren't back yet. The twist didn't happen at a party with a microphone. It happened at 10:38 p.m. on a Tuesday in the office when a demo server fried, and we had to drop a rack into a borrowed closet that smelled like warm dust and new paint. Marco and I were dragging cables like we were pulling rope on a ship when his smartwatch lit up. A Discord icon. He flicked his wrist to dismiss it, and in the tiny bright pulse I saw the sender. Z Marine. My stomach did a smooth gymnast's dismount. I didn't say anything for 10 minutes. I looped cables and we breathed server ozone like we were on a new planet. As we left the closet, Marco's watch buzzed again. He didn't see me see him read it. Room booked, same as last time. Card okay? Everything okay? I asked, voice neutral like a product spec. Ops noise, he said, which is what he says when he wants me not to ask. He started a joke and lost it halfway through. I went to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall and stared at the blue-lit ads someone had bought for a meditation app. The ad person should go to jail. When I came out, Marco was leaning on the counter practicing a casual posture. Hey, he said lightly. I looked at that still again. Honestly, kinda looks like Jared. He didn't say, so stop thinking about anyone else. I want to check something with the Lumen, I said evenly. They won't talk to you, he said quickly. Privacy. I know the bartender, I said. It was a lie until it wasn't. Quinn, a guy from my soccer group, had just taken a second job at Lumen to pay off a bike. I texted him. Weird ask. If I gave you a date time, could you tell me if someone was at the bar? Don't give me anything illegal. Just yes/no. He wrote back. If it's my shift, maybe. Let me check. The universe, for once, was in a mood. 10 minutes later, he wrote, was there. Saw Z with a guy. Couldn't place him. Don't want to be in your marriage. Sorry. Totally fair, I wrote. One question, was he wearing a beanie with a small square tag and a battered messenger bag with a reflective strip? The dots waved. Lol, everyone there looks like that, he wrote, and then, but yeah, that gear sounds like your buddy M. My phone felt like it got heavier. My body was very calm and very cold. I walked to the window and looked down at the city lights like you do when you want to put your feelings somewhere else and make them take an elevator. I didn't confront Marco then. I waited. I set alerts for beacon rides from our joint account and Zoe's corporate Uber. I set an alert for any transaction at Lumen under either of our names. I DM'd Allie and asked her, hey, random, are you okay? She replied within a minute with a sticker of a exhausted cat and lol, what a week. The next day, she posted an IG story of her and her very unmarried boyfriend on a very public hiking trail. Zoe had not been covering Allie that night. Allie had been at a picnic that looked like a wine commercial. The next Thursday, the beacon alert pinged. Drop off at Lumen. 2 minutes later, Marco slacked me. Running to help Zoe W something back in an hour. He never calls her Zoe. He knows I do. I grabbed my jacket. Lumen's lobby felt like a dare. I could smell lavender before the doors fully slid. I didn't make a scene. I asked the desk for a new water because my mouth felt like it had been sanded. I stood near the plant wall and pretended to be on the phone. They came down together, Zoe with her bike helmet attached to her bag, hair messy, laughing that laugh you laugh when you think the world is in soft focus. Marco in his beanie, reflective strip bag, watch band fat and smug. He put his hand on the small of her back, not overt, but not brotherly. A minute later, the elevator chimed and opened and reflected them back as shiny strangers. Zoe saw me first. Everything in her face happened in 1 second. Surprise, calculation, tenderness, fury. Liam, she said, stepping forward. Marco said my name like a greeting card. Dude. Alibi swap, I said, because some part of me is a writer even when I'm bleeding out. You told me you were covering for Allie. You were covering for Marco. And Marco's been helping me cover for you. People will tell you that in the moment of betrayal, you become a shouting person. I did not. I was weirdly polite. I need you both to step away from me, I said, because I don't want to be the guy who gets escorted out by security for turning into TV. My hands were shaking. I put them in my pockets. Lavender punched the air like a bruise. Zoe tried to take my arm. It's not what you think, she said, because I guess there's a universe where a hotel room is a research lab and touching spines is a method. Marco lifted his hands. I'm sorry, he said, and it almost worked because he looked like a boy who'd broken a toy and was willing to pay for it. It started as late-night help. It became a thing. Your brain was going to Jared, so I let you go there. I know that's not okay. You know what's also not okay, I said, and my voice finally cracked. Helping me build a case against a stranger while using me as an alibi. Zoe's eyes were wet. Liam, she said softly, I love you. This, she gestured to the lobby like it was a stage, is a mistake. I've been feeling invisible. You moved into your job and out of our bed. Marco made me feel seen. That's not your fault. It just happened. It didn't just happen, I said, and in the weirdest way I felt grief and relief come in like a tide. You scheduled it. The next morning I brought the envelope labeled seatbelts to a lawyer whose office smelled like cheap coffee and 1,000 sad stories. I told her I didn't want to blow up anyone's career. I wanted a clean separation while we figured out if there was anything to salvage. She nodded, like people say they want that all the time and mean it nobody knows. We drafted a temporary separation with a financial freeze on joint cards for hospitality purchases, a polite way to say, no more lumen on us. We drafted a mutual non-disparagement in case someone decided to go HR with a creative narrative. We asked my employer for a team shuffle so I didn't have to present wireframes to Marco with my stomach doing parkour. HR was kinder than I expected. They'd rather move us than read about us on Blind. I sent Zoe a note through the lawyer. Please stay with your sister for 2 weeks while I stay at the apartment. I'll leave for the next 2. She replied with a surprisingly adult set of bullet points about the cat. We don't have one. The plant, shuttle, and mail. In a PS, she wrote, I'm sorry for hurting you. I copied it into my notes because I wanted to know I hadn't dreamed that part. Marco texted me from a number I didn't know. We're done, I told her. I'm sorry I let you swing at Jared. I hate myself. I wrote back. There's a version of me that will accept that apology later. This isn't it. He wrote, I deserve that, which is probably reasonable and also the kind of sentence that makes me suspicious of my own compassion. I told Allie that my wife had invoked her as a shield. I'm flattered, she wrote. Then, no, not the word, furious. Thanks for telling me. Somewhere. She sent a thumbs up to my lawyer's email address like a witness in a screenplay. Zoe's mother called to tell me I was being dramatic. You're choosing paperwork over love, she said. And I said, I'm choosing not to drown in a hotel lobby. She hung up with a sigh that sounded like an elevator closing. Edit. A few updates because Reddit likes receipts. We signed the temporary separation. We split our savings down the middle. Zoe asked to keep the bikes, which is funny because the bikes were always more like roommates than property. I kept Shuttle, who immediately forgave me for my sins because he has 2 leaves and no ethics. Lumen comped 2 of the bar charges after Quinn complained about being put in the middle of a domestic by my questions. I didn't ask them to. It felt both insulting and validating. I donated the refund to a local clinic and sent the receipt to no one. Marco transferred to a different team. HR phrased it like an opportunity to focus. He and Zoe posted nothing, which is a modern miracle. I learned that Discord servers can be subpoenaed, which made me feel like a detective, even though I am a man who once cried because my sketch component library broke. We started couples therapy because for all the paper it felt wrong not to ask the questions with a referee. Why did you look for someone else? Why did I not notice you looking? Why did you help her hide from me with my own words? Therapy is not a movie. It's 2 people rotating the same cube and arguing about which face is the true face. We also each started individual therapy. Mine is a soft-spoken guy who smells like dry books and asks questions that make me hate him, and then email him an apology later. He asked, What would staying have to look like for you to be proud of yourself? And I said, it would have to look like a house with no lavender, and then laughed because crying would have made me late for stand-up. We are not divorced. We are not okay. We are, for lack of a better file name, Beta. Zoe moved into a sublet near her office with a view of a billboard that changes every 2 weeks. She says it's like living with a gentle alien. Marco left me alone except once, writing, "Whatever happens, I'll owe you more apologies than I can count." I didn't reply. Forgiveness is a battery. I'm charging. I took up running even though I've always claimed my ankles are NFTs, overvalued and imaginary. It turns out there's a kind of calm that lives where your breath hurts a little and the city smells like wet asphalt and eucalyptus. Not mine this time, just the trees. Sometimes I run past Lumen because I don't want a lobby to own me. The elevator gives off that weird cold metal smell, and I imagine the ozone evaporating off my life like mist. The twist ended up being less bullet point and more ache. The alibi I was told to protect, Allie, was the decoy. The real alibi was my friend. I hate that sentence. I also don't want to draw a cartoon villain where a messy person stands. Marco didn't wake up and decide to betray me. He slid down a rail, greased by flattery and late nights. Zoe didn't set out to become a cliché. She got lonely in a marriage where I was married to a rectangle on a screen. Both things can be true. Sometimes the true things don't fit together into anything you can wear. Here's what I keep, and it's small and useful. Lavender and server room ozone will be my smoke signals for a while. They'll fade. Lavender will go back to hand cream and ozone to weird demo rack. In those first weeks, though, they were a map. Where we were, what I smelled, what I knew but tried not to say. Another thing I keep is the question, paper or performance? Performance would have been a party speech about forgiveness and the power of love. Paper was a separation agreement and a Google Calendar for therapy. Paper won because it's the thing that keeps you from losing your place. If you need a verdict, I don't have one. Info? I gave myself all of it, then some I didn't want. AITA? Probably for some things, not for others. The internet likes clean endings. My ending is the kind that leaves room for the next episode, but also offers you quiet if you want to exit here. Today, I made coffee in a mug a friend threw years ago. Wobbly, blue-splotched, perfect. I stood at the window where Shuttle leans and watched a girl on a scooter eat it on a crack, then pop up and laugh at herself. I laughed too. Not because it's cute when people fall, but because getting up looks new every time. I put on hand cream that smells like nothing. I opened a file and drew a box with too much padding. I texted Zoe a screenshot of the box and wrote, "Too fat?" She wrote back, "Warm and kind." It felt like a line that could hold something. We'll see whether it does. For now, I'm here, I'm breathing, and nothing in this room smells like Lumen. That's not a happy ending, it's a clean one. And clean is a place you can start from.